Hi, everyone. I have been MIA. I've not been in a good mood, been in bad spirits. I'm still trying to unpack everything that's happening with my uncle and uncovering all of his secrets. And so I haven't been in the best of moods. With that being said, I did want to get to doing some reviews. And I wanted to start off with a fantastic, unbelievable movie. And I, um, first of all, I did not hear about it. So forgive me. Forgive me. I did not hear about this movie, and I am going to do a screenshot so that you can see what I'm talking about. I didn't know that this movie was coming out, and I am kind of stunned that I had no clue. And the only reason why I even knew about it is because I'm going to the Beyonce movie. And my son, this was going to be like a give back for my son by being like, I'm going to take you because he loves Godzilla. And I'm also watching on Apple TV Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. And since I'm watching Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, I was like, this would be also super, super on Apple TV. Let's go for it. So let's talk about Godzilla Minus One. It is completely in Japanese. It takes place right after World War II. So it's between the time period of near the end of World War II, uh, to a couple years after. So it takes place between 1945 through 1947. So it's in a 2 year span. It is it follows a kamikaze. He is the centerpiece of the story, which I think is really kind of interesting here because I've been reading a lot more books because there's a fantastic show and I've already did a review on it, Pachinko, on Apple TV, but it also is a book, and I have gone down a rabbit hole in learning more about Korean Japanese history, and a lot of the kamikazes were Koreans. So in my mind, as I was watching this, I was like, "Oh, he may be Korean," and um, and and the thing is, if you're not familiar, a lot of Koreans were forced to take on a Japanese name. They took on Japanese. They were forced to learn Japanese. They were forced to, Korean soldiers were forced to be kamikazes. And a kamikaze, if you don't know, is someone who is supposed to drop bomb. They're supposed to fight to the death, and they're supposed to fight it out when it comes to on airplanes, use all their war power, and if that didn't work, then they're supposed to use their plane and kill themselves. Well, FYI, uh, there's a few books I actually bought and looking at some of the people who evaded this and I thought that they did a really interesting job at dealing with this tension. Here's the issue. Um, Japanese, Japan as a whole doesn't really like critiques on, or at least Western critiques on their position within World War II. And so you'll notice a lot of American films do not talk about Japan and our war in the Pacific. We focus mostly on German and the war on the Eastern Front, in which America was not involved in much of that as much as we were completely involved in the war in the Pacific. So there is what is really interesting is to find a Japanese film that does a little bit of a critique on Japan, but also looking at how the Japanese treated people who came back and found out that they were found who survived and they were a kamikaze. Well, they were shunned in society, and which I think that has to be a double issue when it comes to somebody who most likely was Korean, who has to who was forced to assimilate. They can't go back to Korea. Very few went back to Korea. Many of them stayed in Japan. I thought they did a very good job of looking at the devastation. I thought that the movie does a very interesting job that uh, it doesn't have a critique on America at all and dropping the atomic bombs. Um, at all. It doesn't give that critique at all, which I think is kind of an interesting thing because America kind of teeters on not being controversial to Japan. I thought this movie also teetered on not being controversial to America. I thought it also does an interesting job at critiquing Japan at being inconsiderate of life. And the doctor gives a marvelous speech about how this mission to kill Godzilla is about life. And the goal is to not lose anyone because Japan was careless with people's lives. And I thought that, which is a good point, and I never thought about it until the speech, in how much the Japanese was cutting corners, especially when they absolutely could have used escape, gave people like, an escape, something for them to escape so you can save a life. But there was no, when it comes to planes, there was no escape. They expected you to die with your plane, which I think is really unfortunate, right? So I thought that this does a very good job at dealing with this issue by far, which allows it to kind of come. But America is good at being a critique of itself or of handling critiques, I think, more than Japanese. Um, I thought there was I mean, one of the biggest critiques of Godzilla movies is sometimes it's not enough Godzilla. The movie is an hour and a half, so it is a sweet spot to where from the beginning to the end, hour and a half, right? That's wonderful. 'Cause you want to, you know, they don't drag the story out. Of course, there's some holes to the story, but and I actually don't have a problem with the way Godzilla looks. It looks more of like the Godzilla movie. It looks more of that one and Godzilla King of it really is more of the more recent Godzilla, not the last one, Kong versus Godzilla, no. But what is it? Godzilla, the king of the, help me out. Godzilla. I think I watched that so much. King of the monsters, right? Yeah. It has more of the Godzilla King of the Monsters feel when it comes to the way that Godzilla looks. However, they did such a good job at when the special effects, I thought when he would go lethal with the blue, I thought that was hands down very much so entertaining. Um, I don't know. It had the emotion that you needed, the connection that you needed, that kind of fueled the story. So I don't take like the walking of the Godzilla, like it doesn't have to look to me like Jurassic Park, like it doesn't have to look completely real. And of course, there are some effects where the buildings that are caving in, if you're like, okay, that is so computer generated, let me stop. But I think that's okay because that's what I expect from a Godzilla movie. I expect the imperfections, but I also enjoyed the I find the most inappropriate times that I laugh. Like I laughed at inappropriate moments, and that was okay. So I think this was completely understated. Completely, people have missed the boat and not promotion was completely pathetic. But I encourage you to go see it. It is a fantastic Godzilla movie. If you are a nerd and you love Godzilla, this is your thing and you should be there. And um, I hope that you enjoy for sure. It is horrific. That's really it is subtitles in English. It's all in Japanese. But honestly, I don't it didn't bother me. It didn't even bother kids. I just thought it was really, and especially by the end, I mean, it was you're so sucked into the story that it subtitles didn't matter. Okay? Bye.